Live. There
We're
we
live,
go.
I think.
We are live.
What's up, Tom?
I'm very good. How you doing?
I'm good, man.
Yeah,
I'm good. I'm
excellent.
excited for today, actually. This is something I've been looking forward to for, I guess, ever since we started hyping it up over the course of March.
100%. 100%. Yeah, it's been no, we're super excited. We love getting in front of GC subs, really anyone in the industry. Because yeah, I mean, look, this has been, Luke, my co-founder, and myself, we've been trying, and we've just been obsessed with solving this problem of submittal reviews for the last 3 years. And to get in front of an audience is just, it's always fantastic. So we're very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll give people a minute here to get logged in. I know sometimes it takes LinkedIn a minute to get going.
Absolutely.
Or at least to push it out and get people to plug in. So yeah, when we first started talking about this, we were trying to get a critic to come in and kind of be the critic and kind of tear it apart, because that's the role I played when I first saw it. And I think we talked about it yesterday. I think I actually ghosted you the first time you reached out to me, because I was like, this is too good to be true.
Hey, sorry, to be clear, you totally ghosted me. Like it was like, it was like I was a bad girlfriend or something. I heard back from you like a month later, and I genuinely think the only way we connected is because I liked several of your memes in a row. That was my means of getting in front of you. And then you probably thought, oh, this lad won't stop. He won't stop liking my memes. I better just chat to him, I think that's how it happened.
That sounds about right. Well, no, to be fair, though, to be fair to you, or fair, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but a lot of people reach out to me to show me a cool AI tech tool, and they're all 95% aren't good, right? And it's just like, you kind of get beat up with it. And so I don't know. I know when I got on the demo with you, I was pretty cautious, I guess, of like, okay, what do you got, man? And I was blown away, I'll be honest. And so it was kind of led down this path of like, man, I got to help show what you got to the world.
Yeah. And you know what, like in all seriousness, that's kind of the game that we play. I say BuildSync, not to bring in kind of sort of sales lingo, if you will, but this will make sense to everyone. I call BuildSync the puppy dog sale. Yeah. It's like, I show you the puppy dog, you take the puppy dog home, play with it for a couple of weeks, upload a couple submittals, compare them against plans and specs, and give us your harder ones, give us your gotchas. And then you guys make the determination if it's valuable for you or not. And look, if it's not valuable, if you want to go back to doing submittals, kind of the old-fashioned way, hey, happy days, we're still friends, don't worry about it, But I'm always quietly confident after people have tried it, they're going to be like, yeah, BuildSync is, I'm biased, but it's something special. So.
I agree. So we'll get into it. If people are in the audience, we kind of got two paths to questions here. And so we want this to be an interactive event. So as you have your questions, and if you want to be a critic from the comment section, please speak up, ask your questions, kind of throw Tom the hardball questions. And some of the more some questions, I'll put the questions up on the screen. We'll talk through some of those. And then Tom's co-founder, Luke, is actually in the chat. He should be in the chat, in LinkedIn chat. And so if we don't throw it up on the screen, he'll be there to answer your maybe more niche questions that kind of don't apply for the greater world. And so we'll kind of get started there. So if you are out there, go ahead and put in the comments, like, where are you calling in from? Are you watching? And what's your questions as we get rolling?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll start. I'm dialing in from, despite my funny accent, I'm dialing in from the desert. I'm out here in Phoenix. So yeah, as you can all tell, I'm a real cowboy, in my spare time. But hey, we're going to get cracking. Shall I share my screen? We'll start getting cracking.
Yeah, let's get going.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, brilliant. Well, look, I'm going to need the thumbs up from you, Matt. That I know we've done this several times now, but I'm going to get the thumbs up from you. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, we're getting some thumbs up? Probably, I'm assuming. So everyone, look, thank you. Firstly, I really appreciate it. Everyone joining and having a look at what we're doing here at BuildSync. As for the vast majority of you, and I was kind of checking through the attendee list, the vast majority of you, this is the first time seeing BuildSync. So just as a really high level, our real bread and butter and what we do is we automate submittal reviews. We use artificial intelligence to compare your submittals against your plans and specifications. Vast majority of people that use us, PEs, PMs, members of the operations team. And as Matt said, my co-founder, Luke, mechanical engineer by trade, and myself, I've been in the software business for a long time. We've been obsessing over this problem for the last 3 years or so. It is literally, we eat, sleep, and do everything else is around BuildSync. So we like to think what we've built is, does some cool stuff. So now we kind of level set for everyone. What we're going to do is we're going to crack on with some few examples. So first example I want to talk about is this project here. So project Westford Hilton. I'm going to click into it. Now, when you're using BuildSync for the first time, the only thing you will have to do is you'll have to upload your plans and specifications. Just hit upload, just drag and drop. It literally takes like 60 seconds or so to upload them. Now, the second thing that you have to do is you have to upload your submittals. Now, one thing to note here, there's 2 ways to upload submittals. Typically, what a lot of our users do is they'll just come into BuildSync, they'll just drag and drop, add submittals, throw them in that way. Now, some of you may have noticed, and this is really for the GCs in the audience, some of you may have noticed that we have this button here, Connect to Procore. We are a Procore partner. We are built directly into Procore. So if your subs are uploading their submittals directly into Procore, you can allow BuildSync to be an actor in that workflow, essentially BuildSync review. So the ball in court comes to us, we do the review, and then you can make a determination whether to send that to the design team, predicated on how compliant that submittal is. So that's all you need to do to set up a BuildSync project and upload submittals. It's like a couple of minute thing.
So
now,
when you link it to Procore, let me ask that. When you link it to Procore, it's pulling all the submittals directly out of Procore, working here, and it's pushing it back to Procore?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. What it also does is, and that's a good point, Matt, there's 2 things that our Procore integration does. One, exactly what you said there. The second thing it does is that if you're integrating with Procore, the screen I mentioned here about uploading plans and specs, you don't even have to do. BuildSync can actually go in and pull directly your plans and specs and assign them to the correct project within BuildSync as well. So our Procore integration is super hands-off. It just kind of, it runs in the background, basically.
I'm throwing one comment up here. Elisa says we don't use Procore, and just to be clear, you don't need it.
You absolutely don't need it. No, 100%. What we would say is a significant percentage of our GC clients will integrate with Procore, and really on the subcontractor side, most of our clients don't integrate with their Procore.
So you just manually drag and drop those PDF files in.
That's it.
And that's exactly. Drag, drop, and it processes.
Yeah. A very significant percentage of our customers do not integrate their BuildSync with Procore. It's the options for you guys, So what we're going to do, look, let's look at this submittal. This is this has got some glazing product data. So first, when you upload a submittal, the first thing that happens is BuildSync looks at that submittal and breaks it down into the individual products that made up that submittal. The second thing that BuildSync does is it takes those products and it breaks out all of the technical characteristics that made up those products. So if we look at this first product here, for example, BuildSync has reviewed it for compliance, and it has found that we have 8 characteristics that pass, meaning they meet plans and specs. We have 2 characteristics that fail, meaning they don't meet plans and specs, and we have 3 characteristics that are unknown, ambiguous, and essentially need, the PM or the PE, that we need interaction to clarify. And so if we hit this button here, review, what we're now seeing, and this is kind of the third step of BuildSync, we're now seeing all of the technical characteristics that made up that particular product. So as you can see for this example, we have like 13 different characteristics. Now, immediately what you guys are seeing is we have all of the submittals here, submittal characteristics rather, on the left-hand side. We have what the plans and specs are calling for on the right-hand side. And then we have our status column again, fail, unknown, or pass. Now, what we say this literally on every single demonstration we do, one of the most important components, and really, you know, this isn't just for BuildSync, this is for AI more broadly, is we call it trust but verify. Make sure, you know, you want to be able to get eyes on the actual characteristics and check them. Now, when Luke and I were first building the product, we were like, the very last thing we want people to do is have to comb through all of the pages of the submittal and all the pages of the drawings of the specs to try and find where the characteristic was pulled from. So what we did is we kind of just automated that. So if we have a look at this characteristic here, so a fail. So let's have a look what this says. So what this characteristic is saying is we've got the product here. So the submittal is a Technoglass product. However, what we can see, plans and specs are calling for Viricon, Guardian Industries Corp, Oldcastle Building Envelope, and Pilkington, North America. So what we are able to see, yeah, a couple of seconds, this is an outright fail. This is, you know, you send this off to a design team, they're going to slap your hand and send it back. Maybe
You're
not
going to lose weeks.
Yeah, you're going to lose weeks. Yeah, sorry. That's a much more construction way of putting it. You're going to lose weeks. But we don't want you to just take our word for it, especially when you first start using the AI solution, you know, trust but verify. So what's built into BuildSync, and I think this is cool, our customers love it, is the ability to look at the original copy of the documents. So the left-hand side here, what we have is the original copy of the submittal, and which we can see, Technoglass, that has been highlighted by BuildSync. And then the second thing we can see here is the specs. We can see the manufacturers that this is calling for is the ones I listed, Viricon, Guardian Industries, Oldcastle, Pilkington. So on every single characteristic that BuildSync pulls, we give you guys the ability to check it, you know, make sure you're happy with it. I'll tell you something else that I like that's really cool. I think this, I'm kind of hanging around the failures because the pattern we see from our users is that the failures are kind of low-hanging fruit. That's the stuff you need to chat to your vendors about. That's the stuff you need to chat to your subs about. So this one here is a gotcha that we see for glazing fairly often. So this is the light transmittance. So BuildSync has listed this as a fail. Or again, let's just see what's been pulled. So we hit see text, and we can see the submittal has got light transmittance of 33%. Design value has got the light transmittance at 42% minimum. So again, that's a gotcha. Yeah, we want to make sure we're on top of that. And same comes again. If we want to trust but verify, make sure we're happy with it. We can hit this button here, see files, and give it a second to think. And again, left-hand side, guys, we've gone through, we've assigned it to the correct product. We've picked up the light transmittance here. And then on the right-hand side, we can see on the spec itself, the visible light transmittance at 42% minimum. So it's no bueno. We're in trouble if we submit this. Final thing, because if there's any questions, I want to make sure I'm answering questions as we go along. But final thing I want to highlight on this is unknowns. It gets asked by us by pretty much every demonstration we do. You know, what are unknowns and why are we getting them, kind of stuff. Well, look, with inside BuildSync, there's always going to be contextual information that is not on the submittal, or not listed on the submittal, or maybe not listed on plans and specs that we just can't verify. We're going from submittals and plans and specs. That's our contextual knowledge. And so like this one, for example, submittal value, we've picked up the warranty, just hasn't been listed on the document. And then plans and specs are calling for a warranty for 10 years from date of substantial completion. So if it's not listed, that's ambiguous. We don't know. We can't verify it. So that's kind of like you guys engaging, pick up the phone, have a conversation with whoever you need to make sure you can correct that before you're sending it through to try and get it approved, because otherwise you're just going to get kicked back. And look, in your industry, time is money. So have we got
we got a couple questions here.
A couple of questions.
That Luke, yeah, I mean, a couple things that Luke's touched on, but I'll put them up here because this is going to YouTube as well, and just to make sure they can't see the LinkedIn comments over there.
Of course.
Get through here. So Daniel asks, can it batch review submittals or one at a time?
Very good question. So here's what happens. Let's say I've got 10 submittals that I need to review. What I would do is I would take those 10 submittals, I would drag and drop them into BuildSync. And what BuildSync is going to do, it is going to run them sequentially. And actually, this might be a good time to talk about turnaround times and stuff. Tell you what, Daniel, I'll use this example to answer that question, because this is a really chunky one. So I'm jumping onto another project here, guys. This one's got specs and drawings, and I'm going to use this example because this is an AHU, so this is a nice chunky submittal. Yeah. And so going back to the questions of batch processing, you upload 10 submittals, BuildSync is going to attack them individually. And so what that means is that, look, this AHU submittal has like 60 characteristics that we have reviewed. That is super granular. And this kind of submittal, if we upload this into BuildSync, we're looking that this might take an hour, a couple of hours to process, depending on how many other submittals you've uploaded into your account. Now, if you upload 10 submittals at one time, that could take like 6 to 8 hours to review. Again, it's predicated upon how much context we have to compare, which is the plans and specs, and how many submittals that we're processing at one time. What we always say, and look, most of the time we do this just to manage expectations, is that, you know, if you upload like 20, 30 submittals, that could take like maximum 24 hours to process. However, the reality is it typically doesn't take that long. We always, submittals return the same day. You may get it back at 3 in the morning. And if you're super boring like me and you get up at like 4 and you're doing work stuff, maybe you want to, you fancy logging into BuildSync and checking out some submittals there. But yeah, there always is a bit of a turnaround. And, with AI, I think in general, people need to be aware there's a conversation of speed versus accuracy. Do you want it to be the quickest or do you want it to be the most accurate? And BuildSync, we always fall into the most accurate camp because that's how we're going to be able to deliver the results to you guys.
Yeah, whenever I did it, you gave me a trial and I was playing with it and I uploaded some submittals and plans and specs and I just dumped it all in there. And I did it at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon at the end of the day. Just set it. It said it's processing and whatever, I logged off. And then I came back, 8 o'clock next morning and everything was in there and I was able to click through it. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. Like people will get emails from BuildSync at like 3 in the morning. And he'll be like, oh, you processed like 10 submittals. And believe it or not, we do see users popping in to our chat feature at like 3 in the morning asking questions. So I wouldn't recommend doing that. We need some work-life balance here, guys. That's what we want to bring to construction. Yeah. But if you're that way inclined, happy days.
I'm gonna throw you another question here. It's one Luke answered, but just kind of for the greater good. Renee asks, how do you secure plans and specs and keep them confidential? Is it housed on a cloud or server?
Yeah. So look, the way to think about BuildSync and the way to think about data security within BuildSync is that BuildSync adheres to the highest level of data security. We do use AWS. Basically, every single app, not a substantial proportion of apps on the internet are hosted on AWS. BuildSync, and the way I try to explain it is that we look at data security and data integrity of our users the same way that you guys look at workplace safety. Yeah. If you don't have a safe environment for your guys out in the field to do work, let's be honest, a construction company just doesn't have a business. And BuildSync on the flip side, if we don't look at like data security, data safety, data integrity for our users, we just don't have a business. So if anyone wants to get into the weeds and have like a more sort of meaningful conversation about data security, there's a demonstration link going out after this. I would love people to sign up for demos. We can cover stuff like that. What we can also cover is, we didn't get a critic today. So if you are a critic and you want to just try it for free, sign up to Matt's link after, he'll give it to you after the demonstration, and just use it yourself. And like, you guys kind of tell me.
Let's see here. Other questions. Figured we'd get into it later, but we had a question about pricing. You want to go ahead and speak on that now?
Yeah, why not? Why not? No time like the present. Okay, so we've got two answers to that question. First answer: how much does BuildSync typically cost? BuildSync typically costs $99 per user per month, and so that's to set up your account. We do have a scope tool that I'm not going to get into too much detail today. It's like a chat feature. It allows you to talk to your project documents, particularly your project specifications. And that's including the cost of a user. So that's $99. And then we charge $25 per submittal processed. So super simple math, you upload 10 submittals, you get charged $250. What we do is we charge directly to the project. So what I mean by that is that, let's say you're running 3 projects on BuildSync, project 1, project 2, project 3. At the end of each month, you'll get an invoice for those individual projects and how many submittals you reviewed for each project. And the reason we do that is, 1, to help with job costing, and 2, 95% of our customers just assign BuildSync's cost to the PE, the PM, APM, whatever line item on that particular project. So, because the money's got to come from somewhere, right? So typically $99, $25 a submittal. Matt has, let's be honest, Matt, this is mostly your audience, and you have been fighting for your audience. We're actually going through it as late as this morning, trying to work this out. Matt was campaigning for us to give a discount to everyone that joined today. And we capitulated. We said, yes, we will. And so we're offering anyone that signs up for a demo after this event, anyone that goes through Matt's link, anyone that just references Matt, they will get a 20% discount on users for the next 6 months. So yeah, sign up, have a chat with us. But actually, there's another point to make, and I did just say this. Look, guys, like, the first point of call with BuildSync is just trying it for free. Upload a couple of submittals. Give me your gotchas. Give me your hard ones. Like, as Matt said, Matt fully intended to break us.
I did.
Yeah.
I uploaded the hardest ones I had. I uploaded, one with a bunch of VAV units, because I was like, oh, there's no way it's going to figure out, because it was one submittal, and then, the product data sheets, it'll show this one page applies for VAV 1-1, 1-10, 2-4, 2-9, a whole bunch of lists. And then this page applies, has the different sizes. And I was like, there's no way it's gonna separate and break those out. And it did what you just did here, where it took the one submittal and what you're showing on the screen, AHU1, AHU2, and it broke them all out by tag, and then compared each tag. And I was like, holy crap, like, that's all right. Like, there's no way it's there's no way it's gonna figure this out.
Yeah, I remember. What's that movie? It's always referenced. Did we just become best friends? Like
Step Brothers.
Yeah, Step Brothers. That was the moment. Yeah, that was the moment we shared.
And I was like, all right, okay, this is cool.
This is cool. Yeah, this is cool. But I tell you what, I think is really interesting. So, as I said at the beginning, my co-founder, mechanical engineer, spent 15 years building awesome projects in San Francisco and Denver. I come from the software business. That's all I've done my whole career. And the reason I highlight that is because for project engineers first coming into the industry, I can't imagine what it's like to be drinking from the fire hose and trying to, really, if you're looking at submittals, trying to identify what characteristics you have to review. I would imagine at times it can be quite challenging. And so this AHU is a lovely example of that. BuildSync has extracted 33 characteristics just for this one product. So there's 66 characteristics in this submittal here. And so what we're finding on the PE side is we're actually helping people understand where to look, which is an added benefit. And then on the PM side, like, again, I chat to PMs every single day. I mean, my wife doesn't like this, but some days I chat to PMs more than I chat to my wife. And for you guys out there, you know, running work, the chaos of running some of these projects, you just often don't have time to go into this level of granularity, and BuildSync is just the helping hand to make it happen for you. And so, yeah, that's what we kind of see as an added benefit. But there's a few things on here I want to highlight because it always gets asked of me. I think you might like this one. First one I want to highlight is this one, extra materials. Yeah. So let's have a look at the text. So extra materials, submittal is, this is what the submittal has, and BuildSync says cannot find reference to any spare fan belts on the submittal. Design value is calling for spare fan belts. So again, let's trust but verify. Let's have a look at this information. Left-hand side on this one is going to be our, we've got our project, our submittal on the left-hand side. Right-hand side, we're being taken through to the original copy of the specs, in this case, where this characteristic is pulled from. And as we can see, it's being called for on the project specifications. Now, as I said, I have not run work, but I can't imagine what it would be like. And Matt, maybe you can shed some light on this. Like, what happened, you know, if you don't have the extra materials required and you end up needing them and people are waiting and scrambling around? I mean, I can just imagine that is a nightmare.
A lot of times too, what ends up happening is a lot of that's part of your closeout package, right? Of leaving those extra materials, your attic stock behind. And so if you don't have a good list of everything, right, your owner's going to come back and says, you owe me fan belts and filters and this and that and paint and flooring, and then you're not getting your retention, and your 5%, 10% retention is held up, and it's a battle, and so yes, getting ahead of that earlier is better for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I highlight that is because I've heard exactly that from numerous clients, and a design partner of ours, a super early adopter. And if you're watching, Mike, you're an absolute legend. You, I say it every time, but you helped us thoroughly. He mentioned something like this as a reason that he was looking at BuildSync initially. And now they use BuildSync and it just doesn't happen, which is awesome. What is another one that I like? Let's have a look. It's another one. Maybe.
So while you're looking, I mean, this thing, your client base, I mean, you've got subcontractors using this, right? As they reviewing equipment submittals and stuff before it goes in, you know, actually being submitted. You've got general contractors using it, right? Where they're bringing in all the subs submittal packages, and then they're doing their compliance reviews before they pass it on to the architects and engineers. I don't know if you've got any architects and engineers in here yet. When I first saw this, I was like, dude, like, have you talked to architects? Like, because and our engineers.
Yeah, we have been architects and engineers. Yeah, we started working. I won't name any names. We started working with they're a private equity firm, but they own 8 very substantial mechanical subcontractors and engineering firms across the United States, mainly on the West Coast, but across the States. And yes, we're starting to foray into the engineering side. We've got a couple of guys up and running. But to your point, for any engineers watching, yeah, I mean, BuildSync can be your best friend. So you're kind of the.
And it's not gonna. I mean, again, it's not gonna completely do your job for you. But if this thing does 80% of the grunt work of pulling all the pieces and parts together, like, I mean, you're just saving hours in a very critical part of the project of, you know, that startup phase where you've got. It doesn't matter what part of the project team you are, whether you're the GC, subcontractor, owner, architect, you know, everyone's busy with submittals and RFIs that are coming in at the beginning, and, you know, trying to work out the kinks of how everything's processed and getting schedule values approved and getting, you know, Gantt charts approved. And so there's not enough time ever for anybody to do anything in that startup phase. And so if this thing will do 85, 90% of the grunt work of the submittal review, like, it's just so much value in that, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And to your point, that's important. That again, I like to, when we're going through this stuff, it's very important for me to manage expectations of others. Like we were talking to some guys down in actually in your neck of the woods, out in Texas, and the CFO. I'm not sure if he was necessarily from a construction background, but he was saying, "Oh, so can this just like automate a PE?" And I was like, "Absolutely not." Like the whole thing of AI is not to. AI is designed to empower human initiative, but anyone that tells you can do stuff without human, look, I've been working for AI companies for 15 years, so hopefully I've learned a few things along that journey. That just isn't what artificial intelligence is about. It just isn't. It is designed to empower the human behind it. That's it. I know we're coming up in time here. What we like, Matt? We still got people, because I can't see it. I'm just looking at my screen. We've still got people in the chat.
Yeah, we got some. I'm going through in the chat here. Here's one for you. And so I think what he's asking here is sometimes the schedule will say something in the plans. Yeah. The specifications will contradict it and say something different. So what happens if you get contradicting plans and specs? What is it? How does it?
Great question.
Address it.
You know what? Great question. Let's do this because I wanted to highlight this as well. And actually, it was funny. Matt and I were discussing this just yesterday. Okay, so let's ask this. Yeah, let's go. So every single account of BuildSync, you have in the bottom right-hand corner, you have a direct. It's like a bat signal for our support guys. Yeah. Everybody thinks these guys are robots. I can assure you they are absolutely not. They're absolutely not robots. Yeah. So test them. Ask them to say something that's non-robotic. I don't know. Ask them their kids' names or something. So let's just check out the support guys. So hey there. What happens if you have contradicting plans and specs and you submit a submittal to compare against them? And I tell you what, this is live, and I do this with customers all the time, and I always sweat just a little bit.
I was like, I hope they pick up the phone.
I hope this bat signal actually works, but my guys have not let me down yet. Our support team are just absolute legends. Oh, there we go.
He's chatting away. It was funny. We were talking about this yesterday, and I was like, "Is that a chatbot or no? It's a person." I was like, "Dude, this is hilarious. You got AI software with a person as your support, where everybody else has a AI support, with a normal type of technology."
Yeah. It is. I suppose we are a bit of a walking contradiction in that, but. When Luke and I were first planning this out, we made a very distinct decision not to do the kind of chatbot type decision tree type support. The reason why is because I do not think construction is a good use case for that. Too much nuance, too much variance, and so we decided against it. Basically, it's far more expensive. It's far more expensive to the way we're doing it, but. You got doing the right thing is always the right thing. Oh, sorry. So one of my colleagues came back. I don't know if this is Carl or Davina or one of my other colleagues, but whoever it is, thank you very much. You are absolute legends. So hopefully this answers the question. Both characteristics will be added and reviewed. There will be a note that both are related, and the more stringent requirement required will be noted. I don't actually think I have an example for that on these examples, but hopefully that you can kind of get a takeaway that makes sense.
No, it's a lot of times the contract, it'll say, if there's always in the contract, it'll tell you typically if there's a conflict, the most stringent will apply. But if it's giving you a note though that they're related, and you can look at them, it'll at least, trigger something where you can write an RFI that says, hey, you got a contradiction. Yeah. Like, what do you want here?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Seeing as we are coming up close to time, I love this. This is, as I said, I've been waiting for this day with bated breath. I saw loads of people joining, loads of people, this this is our baby. We like to talk about our baby. We are proud parents of an AI solution. But I want to just mention one final thing, because we see it as important. So we got this information inside BuildSync. Yeah, you guys have checked through and maybe you looked at some of these unknowns and you've gone like, actually, I have contextual knowledge outside of what BuildSync has access to. So that's actually a pass. You've changed a couple of values, whatever. The next logical step is, okay, how do we communicate this to either our subs or our vendors? What are we doing? So what most of our users do, they'll hit download overview. They'll take this information directly into Excel. Say what you want about Excel. Oh, sorry, Matt, can you see my screen? Because I was just sharing one screen. Can you see?
I can't see Excel. I still see the BuildSync.
Okay, let me do this, guys. Let me do this. See if I can share, hold present, share screen, entire screen maybe. Let's see this. What about now?
Yep, now we see Excel.
Beautiful. I've made that mistake too many times in presentations. Sorry, as I was saying, we just pull this information directly into Excel. Now, first thing to say about this is customizable. So if you guys need to, have it white labeled, have it laid out a different way, you just tell us. It's like a line of code for us to figure out.
So that means they can throw their logo on the top if they want to, or do whatever. Oh,
totally. Yeah, we have a ton of people that just they white label the sheet. So really the way to think about it is just a copy of BuildSync, but in Excel. It's kind of that simple. So we have total products in submittal.
Can you zoom in on those values? It's kind of a...
Oh, is it kind of...
yeah, if you can zoom in on those rows, maybe.
Where's zoom? View. There we go.
Sorry, I was trying to break you, and I didn't know I was going to break you when you moved to Excel.
I know. What a thing to be broken on. What a thing. I've immediately lost all of my, sorry, in the UK we call them brownie points. I have no idea what you call them here. So hopefully you guys can see it now. It's so yeah, we've got a recreation of BuildSync just in Excel. Total products, total failing characteristics, total unknown characteristics, total passing characteristics, and these lovely tabs along the bottom here, they are just the products. So if you remember, we went into BuildSync, went to the individual products. That is what's been reflected here. We just have all of the products.
So do you have people? I mean, I guess obviously, if you say you're a GC, right, and your sub sends you this submittal, you run it through BuildSync, you go in there, review everything, you say, oh, this is actually a pass, this unknown is actually a fail, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
They send this back to their subcontractor, right? Said, hey, go try again before I send this over to the architect engineer.
100%.
Or do you have people too, once they get this, 100% approved, right, of passes, do they take this, basically print a PDF, put it with the submittal as kind of a spec compliance sheet, and then send that to the architect engineer?
Totally. Yeah. It's your discretion. You guys still have to do the action. You guys still, I'm sorry, you guys being PMs, PEs, people using it, you guys still own the process. But BuildSync just gets you to the source of truth a lot quicker than you guys having to go through. I mean, I think the submittal, the HQ one I just showed you, that's like 70 pages. That's a chunk of work. That's why
I imagine too.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I imagine most people, if you're sending these giant 70-page submittals to the architect engineer, right? And I always tell my contractors to always do a submittal compliance, right? But then what they'll do, they'll put the spec section there, right? And they'll just write beside it like comply, which, yeah, it helps, and it kind of looks like you're forcing them to go verify every item. But most people just pencil whip that, right, just to get it done. Totally. But this right here, if I imagine, I mean, I'm not an architect engineer doing a final review like that, but if this came in as kind of the cover letter of the submittal review, like I would look at this and it's got so much detail here, right? It's an actual, spec compliance sheet. And so I would look at this and it'd give me a ton of trust in what they got. And honestly, if I'm buried in 100 submittals, I got to get back out, I'm going to process this one first because this one's easy. And so, I mean, if you want to cut the line with your reviewers, doing their work for them is always going to help.
But also, that's an interesting point. And we hear this all the time. Like another sort of hidden benefit that we see with BuildSync is that, hey, like construction is predicated on relationships. Like that's the whole, and I think sometimes there's a bit of a trust deficit in those relationships. Now, if you want to look good in front of your architect, you want to look good in front of, your GC, give them good stuff. Like send them, don't just mail the submittals in. I mean, and I do understand there is situations where people mail stuff in kind of just out of necessity. They're just so busy. But I mean, if you use BuildSync, you can still be, getting all the stuff you have done, but you can still produce high quality submittal reviews. And to your point, architects, other people in the kind of other stakeholders are like, all right, these guys know their stuff. They're a very professional outfit.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything else on your agenda, or do we want to go back and hit any final questions?
Do you know, I don't think so. The final thing I say is, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, I really wanted this to be like live and have like a critic. Looking back, hindsight being 2020, Matt and I probably should have used a nicer name for instead of saying, hey, be a critic, I
don't think anybody wanted to publicly be a critic.
I know.
I'm the AI critic. And go live on LinkedIn doing that.
Maybe we need to do like a marketing class or something. Maybe that's it.
We're learning as we go.
We're learning as we go. That's it. But what I would say to you all following, if you think this can provide value rather to you all, try it. Yeah, upload some stuff, play about with it, see what comes back. I'm quietly confident you'll all be very impressed, but you guys tell me.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do while we wrap up, if you have any questions, I know Luke's been addressing a lot of questions. I can see the whole chat here. And so if you had a question and it didn't get addressed, go ahead and ask it again, and I can bring it up on the big screen. Or if you have any further questions, go ahead and ask them now. Here, Woody asks, will the demo work as an app in Procore?
Yes. And actually, Woody, are we chatting in 45 minutes? I believe, unless there's another Woody Lewis that is interested in BuildSync, I believe we are doing a demonstration in 45 minutes. So if that is you, nice to meet you, I suppose.
He's going to spend all day on BuildSync.
That's it. Welcome to my world,
and I'll put the Special Construction Yeti link. I'll go back in. It's in the the description of the live event. I'll put it in the comments. I'll try to put it everywhere. I've twisted Tom's arm. I've been harassing him for the last 2 weeks about getting a discount. So finally this morning he came back and said we can do a 20% discount for the first 6 months?
20% discount on users for the first 6 months. Yep. I'm going through the message now. It literally was this morning. We were going back and forth.
You're like, we're going live in an hour. Here's what we can do.
I finally capitulated. So to Matt's audience, he is fighting for you. I don't want him to get him to sound like a politician, but he is.
I'm doing my best.
Doing the best.
See here, Renee put a big long. Whoa. Thanks for the demo. I can see how powerful it can be, and I love the summary sheets, but the cost per submittal for a GC on a project with 1,000 or 2,000 submittals is high for most companies. 100%. A sub with fewer submittals could use it and be more cost effective. Also, QC managers that review their own submittals have that knowledge that they can take to field inspections. Loss of this can cause a lot of misused field issues. I'm old school critic. We found our critic.
And Renee, you did say, we chatted before, and you did say, and I did say that I heart critics. So thank you. To address this very directly, look, we have customers that are, we are working with some of the largest general contractors in the United States. When we get up in volume, the first thing we do is we always come to a number that makes sense for our users. We don't lose deals on price. It just doesn't happen. And then for people that are processing, processing 10,000 submittals a year, 20,000 submittals a year, there's always volume discount that we can do. Yeah. So list price, $25 a submittal. If you are, if you're going to be processing thousands and thousands and thousands, then we can always have a sensible conversation about that. So thank you for the comment. It's worth highlighting.
I do like that you do kind of that volume pricing discount, but I would even argue that if you are processing 1,000 submittals in a project, 2,000 submittals in a whatever across projects, like you're spending more than $25 a submittal.
Oh, you are.
Yeah. I mean,
and the failure is even more interesting.
You're going to take a project engineer who's making more than $25 an hour, probably, a burdened rate, right? When you're factoring in everything, and it's going to take him at least an hour or more, it's a couple hours to go through each submittal. And so if you can cut that down, by 80% review time.
Yeah. And actually what we found, so the first year Luke and I started the company, we spoke to like 150, 200 GCs and subs. And what we actually found out, that even more interestingly from like sort of research questionnaires that we were doing, was that cost of submittal rejection, to your point, it's anywhere, every time a submittal rejected, it is a dollar cost to the project. So it's anywhere from, say, very conservatively, like $550, all the way up to, we've seen cases of like, and these aren't too uncommon either, of $805. So that's what we've also got to think. BuildSync, we never say to anyone, you use BuildSync, 100% your submittals will be approved. It's just impossible. It just won't work like that. What we do say, and any of our customers listening will probably be bored of me saying this, but we call it the road to 5%. And what I mean by that is that typically we start working with a GC, they get 30% of their submittals reviewed. After 30 days of using BuildSync, that number drops down to 15%. That's conservative, it's more like 10%. Then over the next 90 days, so taking us up to 120 days of using BuildSync, we go from that 15, 10 to 5%. And ultimately we end up on less than 5% rejected. So when we get to that stage, the reason we don't have any arguments on price, despite offering a modest discount on price for big volume users, is because once people realize the value, the argument just makes itself.
I got one more here for you. A bit of a critic. Brad says, appreciate that demo and combo, definitely a time saver, but I just worry about the full submittal review being removed from a PE's list of tasks. Such an important part of learning process and their development. That said, I'm sure there's a way that replace that. Just need to figure out what that is.
Yeah, Brad, I have heard this comment, not joking, well over 1,000 times since we started. And it's a very reasonable comment. Now, I would say a few things on that. First thing that I would say is that RPs that we work with end up loving BuildSync. One of the principal reasons they end up loving BuildSync is because we give them a guiding hand in what to look for on a submittal. So what they end up doing is, one, they end up getting submittals approved at a far higher click rate than they did historically. And two, they get a really good granular understanding at a product level of the technical characteristics that they need to look out for. And so that's, it's kind of, they're working and learning at the same time, if you see what I mean. The second thing to that is that, and this is my more controversial opinion, I've been in artificial intelligence for like 15 years now. This submittal review process, it's going to change very dramatically over the next 5 years. And that's if you're using BuildSync or you don't end up using BuildSync, it's irrelevant. Artificial intelligence is coming. And when you see, the old technology adoption bell curve, when you see that, it is typically the early adopters that win the most. And so, again, maybe that's a dissenting viewpoint to some degree, but that's the trend that I've seen.
Yeah, I'll kind of add to that from what I've seen, at least for PEs reviewing submittals, that I remember when I started out, right? It's like, you need to compare this against the spec. It could be, and I was working on the mechanical side. So you've got a 30-page spec over air handlers. Like, what is supposed to match? What are you supposed to do? Like, it would spend me half a day just to try to figure out what's, heads from tails, what's right, what's wrong. But having something kind of mentor you even and show you what's important and pull out the specifics and show you this and show you that. And I've heard people say too, it's like, well, people are just going to get lazy. Or I imagine people are just going to say, like, people are just going to get lazy and they're not going to review. They're just going to pass it on, right? I'm thinking like, well, if they're that minded, they're just they're gonna be lazy anyway, and they're just gonna rubber stamp it, pass it on. Where I've seen a lot of those where something gets submitted and it's not even close to meeting, plans and specs, and then it gets sent back, and then the whole process starts over again, and it's you lost a month in submittal time, and now your air handler's late because of it all, and then it's just snowballs.
Yeah, absolutely. But Brad, cheers for the question. I've heard it a ton of times. I appreciate it.
Let's see here. Zane says, are you working on any other projects? Something that reviews the drawings and can verify any contradictions or absence of information or clarity and generate an RFI? Oh, we didn't show the drawing, the ASI drawing.
I wasn't going to do it today. I was going to save it up my sleeve because I want to do this again.
Well, then leave a teaser, or people go get a demo and tell Tom to show you the. Go
get a demo. No, I wanted this to be focused on like the submittal reviews today, because that's sort of what we're known for in the industry. But we do have another tool, drawing revisions tool. Takes two drawing sets, 25% CD, 50% CD, compares them against each other, flags any changes. Also, which is really cool, if you're using the submittal tool as well, it will tell you how those changes affect the submittals and gives you advice as to whether resubmit or reprocess. It is design build guys fall in love with it. Pre-con teams love it as well. So it's but it's a teaser. It's
that demo I set on you with, because I wanted to sit on that one a couple weeks ago, because with a residential guy, and I was just kind of curious, like, how would this work for residential? Because I don't really know how residential submittals work, right?
Yeah.
And you just quickly touched on that, and I was like, whoa, what was that you just showed? Like, that blew my mind more than anything. You're like, oh, if there's a conflict, they'll do this and do that. I was like, well, you didn't show me this.
Yeah, I know. It was like our best kept secret. We released it for a large customer. But Ben, the residential guy, I can never pronounce the companies from. If you're watching, you're a gent, and I will get your trial account. Ben and I were texting yesterday. I will get your trial account over to you by the end of the day. I promise. I've been busy with this, so hopefully you can forgive me.
He was crunching numbers to get me a discount.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Renee kind of touched back on what they were talking about earlier about people not reviewing them. And she, I guess, if you don't review it, you're not going to have the knowledge to take to the field to find the issues, being proactive and not reactive.
Renee, I'm taking that as a bit of a,
you want a critic? I'm finding all the critical ones for you here.
Yeah. But I like that. Let's be proactive, not reactive. I like that. I think you're warming up a little bit, Renee,
But I will say, though, that BuildSync, at least not yet, doesn't do shop drawing reviews. No. So there's plenty of stuff for PEs to still review if they want to review and learn how stuff goes 100%. Together and pieces together.
Yeah. We get that all the time about shop drawings. It's not something we're going to be doing for the foreseeable. It's there's a technical hurdle we have to overcome, so it's not on the radar for a while.
I'll almost like fire back at Renee, though, and just say, like, I've seen on larger projects where PEs are stuck in a job trailer and door shut, basically lock them in, don't come out until you get all your submittals reviewed. Those guys aren't getting out in the field and doing any sort of quality assurance anyway, because they're just processing submittal, and it's a machine. And if this could help them cut down that learning curve, even so they're not spending all day every day for months, going through submittals, it'll free them up to get out in the field and start being proactive.
And look, let's address another elephant in the room. If you lock people in basically a cupboard and say review submittals morning, noon, and night with an IV of caffeine, they're going to churn out of the industry. So the industry needs great people at the moment. Very, very early days, I went out and spoke to some PEs and spoke to some awesome ones that were really helping me understand their day job. And when they were telling me that, I was like, no wonder construction has got a bit of a talent drought at the entry level positions, because I don't want to do that. I don't think the sort of the generation coming in, I don't think they want to do it.
Oh, I agree. If that's all your job is, like, no one's gonna stay. Like, people just get burned out so easy, especially those big GCs where they're just cranking them through like that, and they're become a review machine.
Yeah.
I think it's maybe one of the last comments we got, but Jacob asks, can teams also use BuildSync on targeted submittals and try to save some money? And I think
Absolutely.
what he's asking is like, do you have to
I
put
know,
the
Jacob.
entire project in there, or
Yeah.
just the, if it's a simple one and it's going to take me 2 minutes to review, like I don't spend $25 and run it through your system, do I?
100%. Jacob, cheers for joining. I appreciate it. Hopefully your innovation team is going to be, we can get in front of them. I know we were just speaking yesterday. But to the point, Jacob, so I know for you, we're going to be looking at doing it through Procore. All our users always make the determination whether to send it through, whether to send the submittal through to BuildSync for review. So if it's only particular submittals you want to send through, that is no problem whatsoever. We do notice that eventually most people, because the value presents itself after a while, most people do end up sending them all through, but our users always make the determination whether to send the submittal through or not, or manually review it. So yes, is the answer to that question.
See if there's any last ones coming in. Some really good comments. Really good comments.
We have to do this again. This was fun.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's make it happen.
And I think maybe our critic Renee. I know AI is here to stay, so maybe I'll won her over. I'm just kidding, Renee.
Renee, we can get you a little bit. What if you're 100% critic at the beginning? Are you 75 now? Maybe we'll have you on next time with us. Maybe
that would be good.
Yeah,
that would be good.
Maybe.
I appreciate it, Renee. Thanks for the banter. I really appreciate it, though. No, because that's what we wanted. We didn't want it. The reason we did this, and I don't know, maybe do this with other tech companies, or maybe we just become a BuildSync monthly thing. But anyway, is anytime you want to see a review of anybody's software, you'll click through, you'll see their YouTube video. It's highly edited. There's, it's a lot of smoke and curtains, and, it's maybe not even be real screenshots of the software, right? They're just telling you what it's going to do. You're like, I want to see somebody really use it. And so then I'll try to find somebody that's actually like a how-to of the software, so I can get a better feel for it. Because I know if I go to somebody's website and I click to see a demo, I have to give them my phone number, my email, my home address, and then the spam starts, right? Even if you want to get pricing, like what's it cost? Like, oh, enter your information here for a demo. Like, I don't want to enter your spam funnel, because everybody hides, they want to get your information so they can, beat you down. And so anyway, so trying to do this sort of stuff in full transparency, get the information out there, and if the technology speaks for itself, it should.
Yeah, 100%. I'll leave you all with this. If you guys, to Matt's point, sometimes it can be, software companies can be terribly invasive. You just ask a simple question, and they're, suddenly you're on a 12 touch point marketing sequence, and you're getting, lad calling you every week or whatever. If you just want to chat to BuildSync, just reach out to us on LinkedIn. Alternatively, on our website, you can always access the chat bubble. You don't leave any details. You just ask a question. Yeah. So if anyone doesn't want to do a demo yet, they just want to chat to us. Just, I can absolutely assure you, you will not be getting spam and nonsense from BuildSync. That's not how we run our company.
Cool. Robert says, oh, about the link. Yeah, Robert, I'll DM you the link, and I'll put it in the comment section too for anybody else. I just tried to do it from here and actually posted to YouTube, not to LinkedIn. So I don't know what I'm doing. I gotta go log into LinkedIn, and I'll get it posted up there. But we'll get that. It's a Calendly link.
Yep, Calendly link. Book a demo yourself. Try it for free. Put it through its paces, and then you guys want to try it. If you want to run it on a project, we'll give you a discount.
Sweet. Cool, guys. I think that'll wrap it up. If you guys need questions, you know how to reach Tom, and y'all know who I am, so I'll give you the truth.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and look, cool, if you want to keep in touch with BuildSync updates, we are Again, I'm very biased, but I think we have a world-class engineering team. Shout out to our engineering team; they're absolute legends. And so we are releasing cool functionality all of the time. Every time we release, we put it on our LinkedIn profile. So if you want to keep up to date with the latest and greatest stuff that's coming out from us, please follow our LinkedIn, or just add me. I like to shout about it as well. So,
Tom, it was a pleasure. I knew it'd be fun. Thanks a lot, man.
it's been good fun. Hey, cheers. Appreciate it.
See y'all.